Good morning, well women. We are going to talk today about when you're going to stop your diet. And I know that sounds so strange because I would wager 100% of us are pretty used to thinking a lot more about making ourselves start a diet. And we never think about when it will stop. We only think, well, I need to diet to reach a weight on the scale, or I need to diet so I won't be overweight, or I need to diet and I don't really even know why. So I'm going to share my screen with you and go through some stages and give you the why and the how behind what would it be like if you were to learn beyond dieting, beyond trying to reach a weight on the scale, and instead see this really broad picture of what it can be like to be well long term, to no longer yo-yo diet, to have a lot of data and information about how you're taking care of yourself, and be able to do like I'm doing now, where I chose on purpose a start day and an end date for the diet that I'm on now, which I'll even define what does that really even mean. And I'll explain why I'm doing that, how it's going, what I'll do next, and put some resources in your hands to support you in trying this all out. Because you're here because you're well women. You want to be well long term, and having this knowledge could be transformational for you. Maybe you won't begin doing everything I'm going to talk about today. And in fact, I would say it wouldn't even make sense to begin doing everything I'm going to talk about today. But what would make sense is to let yourself empower yourself to have some mind shift and mindset change so that you can learn some more and keep making great progress on your journey and not give up on yourself. That's really going to be the spirit of what we're going to learn. So let me share my screen with you. Takes a few clicks. And we're going to look at some things in writing while I talk, because I feel like a lot of what I'm going to say is just so new and different. I want you to have the visuals as well. So as soon as, let me move this, there we go. I say, is it time to stop your diet? Because this was said to me and recently. I had some questions pop into my head. I said, why would I stop? I haven't reached the body composition I want to yet. Won't I gain weight, and how would you do that? Because I admit I'm kind of interested, because like maybe you, I have a little bit of what I would call diet fatigue, and I just can't imagine myself going through the rest of my life always eating too few calories, which is what it really means when we're in a diet. So I'm going to go through those questions. Why would I stop my diet? How would I do it? What would I do instead? And would I still think about macros and calories? Because for me, this aha moment I've had around stopping dieting, having an end date to your diet, knowing what to do next, hinges on understanding the macros and calories you are consuming. So when I'm saying stopping my diet, it doesn't mean we're going to stop taking great care of ourselves and collecting data about the fuel that we're putting in our body. Pretty interesting, huh? Because I think in the past, when we think about stopping dieting, we think about, oh, well, no more calorie counting, no more thinking, no more mindful eating. And that's part of what sabotages us and keeps us trapped in this yo-yo dieting cycle. So first, let's talk about, why would you want to stop dieting? Why should you give this information a listen and stretch yourself a little bit and stay here with me to just at least see the big picture? Well, first, there's this thing, and this is really the biggest thing, called metabolic adaptation, which in non-sciencey terms means your body's always listening and paying attention to what fuel you're putting in and the activity you're doing, and adjusting your metabolism to what you give it. So when you give it less food and dials down the metabolism. And when you give it more, it actually dials up your metabolism. So to always be eating less food is eventually going to lower your metabolism. And that jumps down to some of the bullet points lower on the scale where you can eventually wind up, if you are a chronic dieter, you've lived your whole life in a diet like so many of us have, you wind up having consequences like adrenal fatigue. Your adrenal glands are hormone releasing glands. And when you have adrenal fatigue, you feel super tired, you are unable to lose weight and burn fat, and you just don't feel like yourself. So if we stay in a diet too long, we can wind up in that situation. When our metabolism adapts down too low, too long, too often, there's so many hormone related consequences that I see in you all, and I saw in myself. Most of us here are in our 40s, and we are living the consequences of lifelong dieting because our metabolism has adapted down. Our hormones have said, well, we just can't deal with this, and there's going to be some consequences. So another reason to stop is just the simple fact that you could have diet fatigue. It gets tiring. It wears on your mindset. It wears on your spirit as a person to always be thinking about eating less food, because tied to it is so often deprivation. I'm not good enough. I need to weigh less. All of those kind of thoughts that don't serve our wellness. No one wants to think like that, but that's what happens when you're constantly in a diet and don't have an end date and don't have other wellness tools around you to support you. It is more healthy to spend most of our life at maintenance. And we'll talk right in this training in a few moments about what do I mean by maintenance, but it's essentially a place when you're eating enough fuel, because a diet is when you're not giving your body enough fuel to do the breathing and the thinking and the walking it needs to do. So it is more healthy to spend most of our life in maintenance. And when I asked in the group a few days ago, has anyone here ever eaten and tracked macros or calories at maintenance on purpose? And everyone said no. I said no. We all said no. Yikes, right? That's why I was like, we have to spread the word on this message. And I'm so grateful to the well woman who introduced me to all this information via Biceps After Babies, which is a website that I'm going to refer you to in a few minutes to get you more learning. So thank you to Sabrina from our group, and Beth, who's one of my passed away friends, who reached out and told me about their experience with Biceps After Babies, which is run by a woman named Amber, who really is good at sharing this information about the fact that dieting is just one phase and there's other things we can do. And we'll talk all about all of that in just a moment. So last but not least, there's two more cool things about stopping your diet. One of them is that it can help you move yourself out of a plateau of weight loss if that's where you are now. And I would guess a lot of you who will come join us and listen might say, okay, yeah, I've been there. And the only thing I know how to do is if I'm stuck when it comes to my weight, all I know to do is eat less and exercise more. That's a piece of the puzzle. And it actually used to work pretty well when we were younger, right? But now we just need the bigger picture that part of the plateauing is happening because of that metabolic adaptation I mentioned first. Your body's just saying, okay, she's given us too little fuel. We're going to have to dial things down when it comes to the metabolism. And when that happens, you just don't see weight loss or fat burning. And so some of the tools we'll talk about today that can move you from your diet phase into a maintenance phase may help you eventually break out of a plateau if you're on a long-term weight loss journey or just a long-term wellness journey and do still want to see fat loss, but you essentially need to give your body a break from being in fat loss mode for a little bit so then it's willing to burn fat again. And we already talked about stopping dieting is a fantastic tool for preventing and supporting you moving out of adrenal fatigue. And a few of you are in that space, and we've talked about that if you're in adrenal fatigue and trying to heal hormones, you need to move out of a diet phase because they are at odds with one another. And last but not least, the information I'm sharing today about being in a phase beyond dieting, not always being in dieting, is that this approach will give you long-term results in your body composition and your wellness that lasts forever instead of you always being on a yo-yo diet. This is the answer. And it's just that you're going to see more. All we've been seeing is diet. It's just one piece of the puzzle. Today, we're going to see the whole puzzle, and it's really empowering. So I'm sure you're thinking, well, now how would I stop dieting and not gain weight? Because every time I'm not on a diet, I'm gaining weight. I've never been able to maintain my weight. I know. I know we've got answers. This is why I had to share this training. This is really good. We've got answers. We can do something called a reverse diet, and there's even more we can do. But I know a lot of you are here saying, well, what's the reverse diet part? Let's talk about that part. What is reverse dieting? That is a big reason that I shared this training, and I'm going to tag some of you who asked about this recently. I know some of you are out there where it is still very early in the morning, and you may not be up and ready to do trainings yet, but I'm going to tag you so you know we're here. So how would we stop dieting? What would we do? Well, the reverse diet is the step that most of us would take, and I will talk you through what that means in just a moment. We would also, with that, do some mindset work and have a plan. And a lot of that you can learn about and even begin to open your mind to at bicepsafterbabies.com. Again, this is where I'm learning this information. I am in one of their signature classes right now that is 8 weeks long, and it has been phenomenal. I've learned so much. Ironically, it's called Macros 101, but it is very advanced and wonderful. And within her course there, I'm learning all about everything I'm talking to you about today and seeing very clearly that we're not just going to be dieting. There's other phases we can be in. And to make it all work for our wellness long term, we're going to have a plan, and we're going to work on our mindset, because our mindset for 40 years, at least for most of us, has been programmed to be on a diet, be on a diet, be on a diet. We don't know what else to do. We don't know how else to operate. We don't know how else to think. We're in a shortage kind of mindset because diets are about shortages. We can constantly self-sabotage ourselves in that place. And so we're going to have lots of support around us to stop the diet on a certain date, do something called a reverse diet, work at maintenance for a while, and then go into a calorie cut again for just a set period of time in the future. Pretty amazing, huh? So bicepsafterbabies.com, and I'll share that website again with you at the end of the training, is the place to start. You may have heard she has a phenomenal podcast, bicepsafterbabies.com radio, and it is, but I would not suggest you go there first because there's so many episodes and it's hard to choose where to start. I would highly suggest you head to bicepsafterbabies.com and on your desktop, review her resources because they are robust and free. She has a very big library of free resources that are so clear and supportive and science-based for you to see not just the diet part of our life, but this reverse diet part and this maintenance part. There's even a bulking part we'll talk about in a moment. She's got mindset tools there for you. She has so many rich resources. You're going to say, I can't believe this is free. You will have to give your email, but I completely 100% endorse bicepsafterbabies.com. I'm not affiliated with her or anything in any way, but I am thrilled to be aware of this resource and in a class and learning all about it. It is phenomenal. So we have answers for how we would stop, and that's just something we will learn about. And what will we do instead of always diet? Well, we'll have a long-term plan for wellness, not just weight loss. We will have a long-term plan for wellness that is not just about weight loss. Amen. It's so good. Because again, it sabotages us as women to reach and grow and find our dreams and think of in abundant ways and be, do, and have who we want to be when we're always in a shortage consciousness that is brought on by being in a diet, because a diet is about shortage, right? It's not the place to hang out. We want to hang out in maintenance where we're all there about enough. I give myself enough. I am enough. I eat enough. I'm always doing enough because I'm just a great person, just by default. So we've got a plan for what to do instead. We will be practicing food freedom through this whole experience. Reverse dieting is a piece of food freedom practice. Being at maintenance is practicing food freedom because we're going to be doing mindful activities that aren't just focused on eating too little calories. There'll be a focus on eating enough whole food nutrition, that type of thing. And then who knows what you will do. When you shift out of diet mentality, when you shift out of, I'm not good enough, so I have to lose weight. I need to be smaller. I need to take up less space. I need to be less me, which is really what's happening in so many of our minds when we're dieting. When you let go of that and you shift into a place where you're just taking great care of yourself with understanding the fuel you're putting in your body and why, and you have a plan with beginning dates and end dates, and you are in control, imagine what you might do next. Who knows what you will do next? It'll be amazing to find out. That's why I want you to listen in. So let's get to the meat of the subject matter here. And hello, Katie and Catherine. And let's talk about the phases that we can be in. And I'm going to argue that all of us are always in one of these phases in our life. Whether we're there on purpose or by accident. We are either in a phase when we're eating too little food. So we're at a calorie deficit. We call it a diet. We call it macro cut, lose weight. If we set ourselves up in MyFitnessPal, we chose lose weight. That's where most of us are most of the time. But there's other places to be. We can be eating or taking in food in a way that we're moving from being in a calorie deficit or a diet up to maintaining. And this moving from the deficit to maintaining, this phase is what people call reverse dieting if we're doing this on purpose. And I'll talk you through that in a moment. But let's talk about the other pieces of the puzzle. Maintaining. This maintaining phase is where ideally a well woman will be for most of her life. And for a small handful of us, that has been the case. There are a small few of you in this group. I can think of you and count you on one hand who've said to me, I've just always been able to maintain my weight. I've never needed to diet. I've always been, comfortable in my body. But then it's usually followed by, if you're talking to me, because this group is about this, but once I turned 40, but once I hit 50, but once I hit menopause, then maintaining changed on you. So again, all the more reason to empower yourself with the idea that there are these phases we can planfully and mindfully and on purpose be in. We can use our macro knowledge, our intermittent fasting tools to be in these phases and take great care of ourselves and reach goals, because we can move from phase to phase on purpose to reach goals, such as maintaining our body composition or burning fat or gaining muscle. So the fourth phase, and I don't know too many people who have been here yet, but I see this for our future as we learn more, is that you might actually go into a phase when you eat more on purpose than you need. Some people call this a bulk. And you do this because if you're doing this on purpose, you would do this because when you take in more fuel than you need, and you're also doing strength training, you can be more able to build lean muscle mass, which in turn increases your metabolism. It increases the amount of calories you'll need to be eating at maintenance. Now, the other side of the paper is a lot of us are really living in fear of this gaining phase because we're here not on purpose. We're here by accident. We're gaining weight, fat, because we don't understand our food, or we have a lot of emotional eating going on, or a ton of different reasons are happening. But the cool piece about understanding that these are just phases we can be in. We can choose to understand them and be on them on purpose or not. We can choose to understand how much energy we expend and need. There are formulas we can use to understand all of this. We've got fitness trackers. We can get body scans to know our fat percentages. There's so many tools we have out there now that we can leverage, that we can choose to be in these phases on purpose and use them to meet our goals. And when we do that, look how much power we take back, right? We're no longer mindless and disempowered and feeling trapped and helpless. Instead, we're empowering ourselves to be in these phases. And that's what I'm doing right now. So I was at this maintaining phase for about 4 months, and I didn't really realize it until I learned what I've learned recently. But because I track my intake in MyFitnessPal every day, I know my average calories per week. I track my weight and I take my measurements on a regular basis. So I have tons of data that showed me I have been maintaining my body composition, my muscle mass, my weight at about 2,000 calories for about 4 months. That's a great place to be. And if you think of a year, if we think of this for a year, I want to spend most of my year in this maintaining place. So I should think, okay, I want another 4 months out of this year when I'm maintaining. And that gives me, I've used up 8 of my months, then I've got 4 left after that. What do I want to do with those 4 months that are left? What I decided to do was I want to try out moving into a calorie deficit for 6 weeks, so a month and 2 weeks ish. And then I want to try out this on purpose reverse dieting, on purpose moving out of the calorie deficit back up to a maintenance number for a few weeks. I cannot pick how long that reverse will take. That's something that I'll listen to my body and collect data about. I am choosing this calorie deficit I'm in now to be for 6 weeks. I chose that just because it sounded doable to me. And I was up for that experiment. It works out with my life schedule. We're going on a vacation in about an 8-week period. And I'm not choosing to be in a calorie deficit on purpose during a vacation because that would self-sabotage myself. So at maintenance, I was at 2,000 calories. Here at calorie deficit, with the support of some free tools from Biceps After Babies, you can determine this for yourself as well. You can determine for you, based on your current activity level and a few formulas, especially if you might know your body fat percentage, which some of you may from a scale, or maybe you've gotten a body fat scan, which I do. I'm going to do one of those next week. You can take into account, and you're going to use more tools than MyFitnessPal to do this. You're going to use some of the tools from Biceps After Babies because they're reliable and well done and free to understand, well, how much energy do I burn just to be alive? And then if I'm exercising, what additional energy burns coming from that? Knowing all that, you're going to set up your protein goal, and then you're going to set fat and carbs goals. This is all going to happen through understanding calories and macronutrition, because in order to mindfully and successfully move around in these phases to get to your goals and stay well long-term, it is important to understand eating carbs, proteins, and fats from whole foods, or else it is very hard to be mindful about your wellness and have success moving in and out of these phases, because processed food is just not the way to go to make any of this happen other than being in a gaining phase. Processed food doesn't work well for our body. So for me, I know I've been maintaining eating carbs, proteins, and fats at about 2,000 calories worth for 4 months. So I'm choosing to go into my calorie deficit at around 1,650 calories based on my calculations I did for myself, based on my muscle mass, my activity level, and the calories I tend to burn in a day, my total daily energy expenditure is the fancy name for it. I said, okay, a gentle deficit for me that I would be able to feel well in and move into willingly is the 1,650 calories a day. And on purpose, I even set up this calorie deficit to include enough protein. And that's where I am now. I'm moving into the beginning, or this is the ending of my 3rd week. And then after 6 weeks are over, I'm going to move into this phase that we're called reverse dieting, where I'm going to gently add on calories each week to my intake and check my weight and my measurements and my feelings of energy and all those good things, and see when does my body get to the point where it's not losing weight, and perhaps I'll even gain a tiny pound or so on the scale. And then I'll say, okay, I see that I've come back to my maintenance calories. I see that now my body needs, it'll probably be just 2,000-ish calories to maintain itself. And I'll stay back here in maintenance for a time I haven't determined yet. Okay. But I'm thinking right now, my guesstimate would be another 4 months of maintenance, because I am very close to where I want to be in my body composition journey. Now, what if you are not? What if you're saying, Amanda, I still have so much quote unquote weight to lose, so much fat to burn. I don't see how I would spend 4 months maintaining and ever get to my goal. I hear you. And that's why I said, as we talk about this work that's beyond always just being on a diet, and we pick a beginning and an ending date for our diet phase, and we learn to reverse diet and we learn to maintain, we're also going to have to change our mindset. There's going to be mindset work to do here, and we will not get into all of that in this training. This is just we are just at the beginning of even opening up our mind to the possibility of doing something besides always being in dieting. So the reason you would want to have yourself move through these phases in a cycle, you do not have to go into the gaining phase, but you would need to do the deficit, the reverse diet, and the maintaining phases over and over in a cycle on a long-term weight loss journey, is because though that might take you longer, it will work. How many of you work with me, maybe in the Faster Way to Fat Loss or in some other capacity, and you're still stuck? You still have plateaus. It still, quote unquote, isn't working. And especially because we're in our 40s and we have hormone issues going on, right? So always trying to just diet, never come out of the diet phase until you reach a number on the scale, or just never come out because you don't know what else to do, or just stay in the diet phase until you're so frustrated because you're not seeing what you wanted to see, whatever it might have been, that you give up or stop or do something else, but it's still a diet. You never got to your goal. You never got to being a well woman for good. You're still going to be yo-yo dieting. So though it might sound like, oh, if I just crash diet for 2 months and keep my calories as low as I can, I might see the scale change, but then what? But then you're going to see it come right back up, because that's how your body works. And you didn't get to practice moving from your deficit to a maintenance. You didn't get to practice your maintenance macros. No wonder it didn't work. So please, if you're in that place where you're like, oh, Amanda, but I still have a lot of weight to lose, or I just don't see how I would ever keep up with something like this, please let this be a time when you're just opening your mind to the idea that this could be something you leverage, these phases that you leverage over time to maintain your wellness. It's even bigger than you getting to a certain body composition, losing weight, getting to a number on the scale. This is a system over time that a well woman could use to maintain her wellness forever. And I have personally met so far many women now that I'm in this 8 weeks long class that I'm doing, who have moved through these phases over time, and they have lost 50 pounds, 100 pounds, and kept it off for 3 years. If you want to hear some other testimonies, bicepsafterbabies.com is the place to start. And then we can lead you from there to episodes of the Biceps After Babies podcast, where you can actually hear the stories of the women who are living these phases. They do their calorie cut for X amount of time. They do their reverse diet until they figure out that they're at maintenance, and they stay at maintenance long enough on purpose. And then they shift back down into a calorie cut again. And they go through that cycle as they're working to reach their wellness goals. Now, are they all still thinking about macros and calories? And will we as well? Yes and no, because we're going to go into a food freedom mindset. The way that it's going to feel to think about macros and calories is going to be different. And that's why this works. And this is where I just want to testify for how it's going for me, because I know Sabrina, I don't think she's on here live, but she asked me, such a great question in the group. What is it like this time to be in a calorie cut, knowing what you're doing and like knowing you have an ending date? And I said, it is a whole new food freedom experience. Knowing that there is an end date to this calorie cut that I am in is so freeing. Knowing that I'm in charge, I make the decisions, I'm collecting the data, I'm behaving like a macro scientist, which is a term coined by the creator of Biceps After Babies, instead of a macro dieter. This is just a whole new experience to me, and it's so much better. I also have to give credit to myself, really being one for whom intermittent fasting really serves me. And by no means do you need to be one who intermittent fasting really serves you. But I can say the work I've done in the Faster Way to Fat Loss that's helped me understand how to leverage intermittent fasting and whole food nutrition has really supported me in this experience of cutting calories, because I am not being derailed by hunger and cravings. I'm very aware when I feel them. I know what to do. I've had a lot of mindset practice and a lot of practice in the kitchen and in my life and at parties. So I am at a point, because I'm 2.5, 3 years into this wellness journey, understanding macros, using fasting, practicing food freedom. I have a lot of skills under my feet. So I am still, though, thinking about macros and calories. And as I move out of the 6 weeks calorie cut and into and reverse diet up to maintenance, I will use my macros and calories knowledge to move me through those phases successfully. And here's what I want to focus on to wrap us up today, because a lot of what I'm sharing with you, I don't teach Biceps After Babies. That is not my program. I would love to eventually maybe work with them or use their training. which one can do, but I'm not there yet. So I never like to bring you a training in the Well Woman's community that's just information. I always want to have a next step for you that you can go do, and I can support you there. So here's what I want us to talk about next. And that is that no matter where we go on this journey, if you still want to be a well woman and leverage what you have learned about macronutrition, calories, even intermittent fasting, understanding the wellness benefits that are brought to us by carbs, proteins, and fats, and knowing what they are in our food and the food freedom practice you can do with that, leaning into protein is the way to go wherever you are in this journey. That is what I'm realizing. So here's what we're going to do now. First, I'm going to encourage you to just learn more about this by asking me questions. If you catch the replay, you can ask your questions here in the comments. And I will help you find your way to bicepsafterbabies.com, find your way to her podcast, and hear more from actual women who are living in the diet that starts on one date and ends 6 weeks later, and women who are then reverse dieting, adding on a few hundred calories each week to go to maintenance, and women who are living in maintenance and tracking their macros in maintenance, and even women who are bulking, who are adding on more food to build more muscle. We can connect you with all of those real life people and their testimonies. And these are you absolutely can join Biceps After Babies Macros 101 class like I did. That's in the hundreds of dollars, but most of her beginning resources are free. So you can absolutely learn more now. And I will keep sharing more every week in our group as I'm going through this experience, because this information is transformational. This is what well women need to know. We need to know how to do more than be on a diet, and do it in ways that meets our goals and keeps us well. So why would I focus on protein? And I'm going to tag my sweet friend here really quick. There she is, because we're talking protein. And Julia is another well woman in our group who I love talking protein with. So here's the thing. Protein, I have learned in the work I'm doing about moving through those phases. Remember, let me go back to the moving through our calorie deficit, which is the diet period that unfortunately most of us are always stuck in, but we actually want to be in there the least amount of time. The reverse diet, the maintenance, and even the gaining. Depending on what phase we're in, we want to toy around first with our protein intake to protect our muscle mass, which keeps us well and energized and feeling satisfied and full enough, and not being plagued by sabotaging hunger feelings. So at maintenance, I was eating about 25% of my calories from protein, and that was about 115 grams of protein a day. And I was doing great because I saw muscle being built on my body. And I keep track of that with pictures and with journaling about the weights I'm lifting, because I was using the right kind of weightlifting like we do in the Faster Way to Fat Loss. And you can learn more about weightlifting from Biceps After Babies as well. That's why Biceps is in the name. She has great strength trainings. So in maintenance, my calories, again, 2,000-ish calories, about 25% of them coming from protein, gave me about 115, 120 grams of protein a day. That was working very well for my body. It was enough, because our body doesn't store protein except in the muscle. And so the body's going through all day long saying, I need protein, where is it? And if they can't find the protein from the molecules that just came in from what you ate, it's going to go get it from your muscles. And then you're losing your muscle mass, which you do not want to do, right? Especially after 40. We want to keep our muscle mass. It is our metabolism. It is preventing osteoporosis. It makes us feel lean and strong. We don't want to compromise our muscle mass. So when I move myself out of my maintenance calories down into a calorie deficit, if I just moved down and took in less fuel and didn't know how much of it was coming from protein, I would be eating less protein. And that is not what I want to do, because in a deficit, my body is going to be even more searching around for those protein molecules and might take them from my muscle. And I don't want to lose my muscle. I'm here to burn fat, but keep my muscle. So that's why we're going to talk protein a lot in the coming weeks. And I'm even going to do a protein power prep session with you all, which a lot of you have been asking for, and I'm finally able to do it, where we can talk about, well, now how am I now eating 30% of my calories from protein to protect my muscle mass? So I'm eating about 125, 130 grams of protein a day. How do I have the protein around to make that happen? Because we all know, if you're a macro tracker with me, the real trick is to eat enough protein and have it ready. Everything else, carbs, like Julia mentioned in one of my posts in the Well Women's community today, I was talking about these apple chips. Carbs are grab and go. We can grab an apple, we can grab the apple chips, we can get the carbs in. Fast and easy, you don't have to prep. Same with fats. It's very easy to hit our fats goal. Avocados, nuts, seeds, a fattier piece of meat if you eat animal protein. Our fats are so easy to grab and go, but protein is different. Protein is not as easy to grab and go. And if you do, then it's often processed, like jerky. So I have been really leaning into all my protein prep strategies that are so fast and easy, and really rely on Instapot, slow cooker, sheet pan meals, and freezing half of it. So I have protein ready to go out and saved in the freezer. So that is what I'm going to bring to you as my next support. While you go learn more from Biceps After Babies, I'm going to be supporting you with a protein power prep session on Saturday, July 10th. Now, this one, we are going to get together. It's going to be a live session. I will record it. It will be via Zoom, so you'll be able to see me live. I'm going to share with you in advance the fast, flexible recipes I suggest. You're going to keep and use those recipes again and again. I will give you the macros for the recipes. I'm going to suggest an equipment list and an ingredients list, so you can be ready ahead to meet me in your kitchen with your Zoom right next to you, on your phone, whatever it takes. And you are going to hold yourself accountable on Saturday, July 10th for cooking up this protein to use and freeze. So no more excuses, no more, I couldn't hit my protein goal and be in the phase I wanted to be in, Amanda, and hit my macros and feel full and energized and keep my muscles because it wasn't ready. And that's what happens, because it just has to be cooked. Even if we're plant protein people, we get a little sick of opening a can of beans to get some protein, right? So I'm going to share with you my recipes that are going to be like shredded chicken that actually is delicious, some ground turkey with Greek seasonings. It is phenomenally good, freezes beautifully. We're going to do some shredded beef that I absolutely adore. And they're all going to have relatively neutral flavor, so you'll be able to use them again and again throughout the week in flexible ways. This isn't just a one complicated recipe that you can only make a big batch of and freeze and use once. No way. We're doing fast, flexible. Lots of people like them, kid friendly. And again, Saturday, July 10th. And here I am going to have you register and pay a small fee to hold yourself accountable for doing this. Because again, I know you, I know myself, I know all of us in this group. We come here and we learn, and we then need some help carving out the time to do that. And that is where I come in. I'm here to help you carve out the time to actually do the protein, to actually do the work, and help you learn why you do it. So you can scan this QR code. If you're watching this on your desktop, especially, you could get out your phone and open up the camera and scan this code, and it will take you to register for this July 10th protein prep session. It's $17 is what I'm going to charge you. And once you register, that's when then I will email you back with the recipes, the ingredients list, the equipment list. And everyone who shows up live, I'm going to gift you a very special macro-based meal prep, meal plan guide that I just put together. It's like 16 pages of goodness. There are 6 more wonderful recipes in there. So you're going to get so much out of this Saturday, July 10th, and you're going to get some food cooked and in the freezer. So you have your protein, and then you can, I just know you're going to build quick meals around it because the carbs and fats are just so much easier. All right. So let me see. I will also, in our Well Women's community, be sharing links to this Saturday experience. Again, it's going to be via Zoom, and cherry on top, because this is just an important piece of the puzzle, I will show you a few MyFitnessPal based tracking tips for how do you really know that you're accurately tracking how much of the shredded beef you had when you make a big crock pot of it. How, do we just get it out and weigh 4 ounces? Do we eyeball it? Do we measure by the cup? Can we measure by grams? What if we want to save it as a recipe? How do you do that right? I'll share all those tips and tricks live in the training. So you can ask me, like you can get out your MyFitnessPal too and say, well, Amanda, my number of servings is, what do I do? How do I make it grams? How do I do this accurately so that I'm not sabotaging myself by inaccurately tracking my protein? We will do all of that together on Saturday, July 10th. And as I said, that will be recorded. So as long as you register, you can go to amandabrinkmanbrockman.com/protein power hour, which is my website where the registration is. As long as you register, I will ensure that you get a full replay of the training and all of the recipes, the ingredients list, everything you need. So if you can't be there, you already have some fantastic plans for Saturday, July 10th, then you can still prep this protein and get this learning. And again, these will be recipes you can use again and again and again. This will be learning you can use again and again and again. So this isn't just a one-time fun little experience. It's also going to be something you can keep leveraging into the future, whether you're in a calorie deficit, whether you're in reverse dieting, whether you're in maintenance, even if you're bulking, especially if you're bulking, because you're going to have to even have more protein. So here's my website, amandabrinkmanbrockman.com. And then if you do the /protein power hour, you can read a little more there and see the registration. And here's bicepsafterbabies.com. So you could refer to those resources. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing my screen and go back and see. Where's stop screen? There we go. Let me check and make sure. Here's what I'm going to do too. I want to I'll just do it for you right now. I'm going to my Amanda Brinkman Brockman Protein Power Hour website. I'm going to copy and paste the comment if it will let me. Yeah, sometimes StreamYard says no. All right, I have to do it on my phone. That's okay. So thank you all for being here live, those of you who were here live. If you have any questions as you rewatch this training or let this percolate in your mind, go ahead and ask them right here in the comments, especially if you have worked with me in the Faster Way to Fat Loss. In different ways, some of what we talked about today, some of those phases are woven into the Faster Way to Fat Loss, but primarily the Faster Way to Fat Loss, especially the new client 6 weeks experience, is designed to have you support you in being in a calorie deficit. You absolutely can be there in maintenance. I've had one out of my 200 almost clients has been there in maintenance with me. I've had some pregnant friends been there in maintenance, but most of you come there to be in a calorie deficit. But as you heard me say, we want to have a specific end date to a calorie deficit period to be a well woman long-term and not be stuck as a yo-yo dieter. So this learning is a little bit as a great supplement to what you've learned in the Faster Way, will help you maybe leverage the support of the Faster Way going forward with more empowering knowledge about what phase are you in. So because you don't always want to be in the diet phase, because you want to be a well woman long-term. So this knowledge is a great supplement to what you're doing in the Faster Way. But if you have questions about, well, how does that work? How would I weave it all together? What do I do? This training is a perfect place to ask in the comments, and I'll keep checking in on you and giving you answers so that you can be a well woman on a long-term wellness journey. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I will, as soon as I click end broadcast, I'm going to get the link in the comments for you so you can join us for that Saturday, July 10th Protein Power Hour and get your protein stocked up in the freezer. Wow, I just tell you, it's a really good feeling to go out to your freezer and see your containers, and I'll even share what containers I recommend, but see your containers of dinner already cooked, protein for lunch already ready. It is a game changer. So I want that for you. Again, thank you for being here, and go be a well woman. Ask all your questions in the comments. And I can't wait to hear your aha moments in our Well Women's community about what phase you've been in. And maybe if you want to give reverse dieting and maintaining a try and see what it is like for you. It is going very well for me. I will keep sharing my results, but I can say each week I have seen the scale number go down gently, and I've seen my body measurements decrease in my core, in my bust measurement, my upper waist, my waist at the belly button, my lower waist, and my hips and like buns area. So I'm just one voice. There's many others out there. You're going to head over to bicepsafterbabies.com and hear some more and learn some more. But I think this can be the start of a really transformational, lifelong wellness journey, this information today. All right. I'll talk to y'all soon.